Hello and welcome back to the drawing board. I'm BaronChaos, and for today I'm going to show you how to do shades and shapes. Now of course there are different styles of shading and of course different techniques of doing shapes. I'm just going to show you what I know. You can draw it any way you want. I'm not going to force my way of drawing onto you. So without further ado, let's begin. Well, first things first, some of the materials I'm going to be using are going to be a basic mechanical pencil, which is right here, for more detail. And for the shading part, I'm going to be using an ebony pencil. Now, some of you already know what ebonies are. They're mostly used for shading, but as I said, just going to be the basics. But to start with, each ebony has a hardness and a softness. And I'm going to be using a soft pencil though, so no need to fret. Well, let's get things started. First I'm going to show you how to do, let's do a pyramid first. Now it's just basic triangles and squares. Well, we start with the base, which would be just a simple square. Just like that. And now, we can connect the lines by adding a simple triangle. First start like so. And then now of course my angles aren't the greatest, so always have an eraser on you if you always mess up. But that's all what art is just trial and error until you find what's right. And now to make it look more like a pyramid, we gotta erase the lines in the background. Now of course if you accidentally erase some of the lines in the front, don't worry about it, just redraw them. I've done that. Heaven knows I've done that plenty of times, and here's a pyramid. Plain and simple, just like that. Next, let's do a cube next. Okay, this probably feels really redundant to you, but you gotta start somewhere, huh? Just do a simple square first. And of course my square part will look very lopsided, so not perfect, but oh well. And then we do another square just a little bit further back. Try to keep the sizes consistent. Heaven knows I've done that wrong so many times myself. Now that we have two squares done, all you gotta do left is connect them. Just corner to corner, like this. Now of course you only do the ones that are going to be shown. And then take your handy dandy eraser and just erase all the lines you don't want to see. And now, let's get into a little bit more different one. Okay, we did some polygons. Let's do something a little bit more round, like a cylinder. This one's pretty simple though. All I gotta do is do two circles and two lines. Just one circle, or ellipse if you prefer. One circle. And then however tall you want it, you can put this second circle anywhere. And then two circles. Again, try to keep the sizes similar. And then all you have to do is connect them. And then get your eraser out. And oops. And there we go. A not so great cylinder, but hey, take what you get. Now for a sphere, it's a little bit different to do that one. This one actually requires some shading. So I'm going to show you how to do the sphere. Now all you gotta do is just practically make a circle. And of course everyone has their own way of drawing a circle. I have mine. But one trick, if you don't really know how to do it, one trick is just to do two C's. Or just do in a consecutive line. For me, I'm a little bit more of a sketchy person. Drawing wise, not personality wise. And there. Now, of course, the way I was telling you earlier how to do a C is just simply like this. If I can do it right, is that. And then that. There's your other circle. That's the other way you can do it by C, but take your preference. Now, let's get into the shading. Now, how do we turn something like this into a sphere? Well, it's quite simple. How shading should work is you go from dark to light. So, oh, and it always helps when you do it in layers. So let's start with a lighter shade. Now try to keep it as smooth as possible. Like a fun example of doing this is just do it in little circles and it should be fine. Now of course, some other ways of shading is just doing this. Another one is cross-hatching. Hatching and cross-hatching, which I'll show you in a moment. And then of course you can also smudge shade. Anyway. Can't talk today. Anyway. Well, you can also smudge shade, but the thing is you have to go over where you smudged again to make it look pretty. Sorry if you can't see, I'm still working on the camera angles. Okay, that's one part. Now, did a little too hard. Okay, if you do it a little too hard, that's okay. There's always some things to fix that with. Well, for my case, I have something called a tack eraser. Something like Silly Putty right here. All you gotta do is make sure it's warm up first, so you gotta knead it for a little bit, make sure it gets nice and warm. And all you have to do is just and yeah, it's lighter already. And of course you have to knead it again to get some of the graphite out of it. Now these things can last for a while, but when they are starting to turn black, then you might want to invest in new ones. Alright then. Carry on. Now, all we gotta do is just add another layer. This time I'm just gonna go for dark. Another thing is, when you're doing a sphere, always make sure you leave a white spot to make it look like it has light reflection. That'll give it its depth. And there we go. And we have ourselves a sphere. Now, for some of the other shading techniques, everything has their rules of lighting and everything. For a cylinder, you gotta make sure you have one dark side and the other has to be light. It has to show through on both sides. Like, if this side was dark, like so, and the center was light, then you have to make sure that the other side is dark. Just to give it that low realistic effect. Now you're probably wondering what's important about the shapes. Well, everything's made up about in shapes. Even your arms, your hands, your face, everything. Even if you don't see it. But let's just continue on. Now for the next one, I'm going to show you how to do cross-hatching. And we'll do it on the pyramid, right here. Cross-hatching and cross-hatching is just simple lines, but the closer the lines are, the darker the shade will be. The farther apart, the lighter it will be. So let's go for it. Let's see, there's one way of doing it, and now let's do the cross. Voila, cross-hatching. And of course I can just do it blatantly on one side. Now of course you don't have to do crisscross all the time. All you can do is just one side. Just do one direction. It's always important to keep your pencil sharp if you use something like mine. Which is why I usually use the mechanical pencil, so I don't have to lose that edge on detail. Alright, let's try this one more time. There we go. And of course you always got to determine where your light's going to come from. Which I'll show you that on the cube. Now a cube, it's a little bit different. Since it's all flat surfaces, you gotta go, one side's going to be dark, one side's going to be medium, the other's going to be light. Let's say the light is coming from this general direction. This side's going to be dark, this one's going to be medium, this one's going to be the light color. The top's going to be the light. So, let's get started. And I'm going to show you some smudging. So just give me a second. There we go. Now usually I tend to use my fingers for this, but you can also use clean axes too. So if you're a little bit of a neat person and don't like getting smudges all over stuff, I do not recommend using your fingers for this. Now because of that, yes, I got a shade, but now I have to go back over it to make sure it looks smoother. And of course you're going to have to redefine your lines too if you're not careful enough. That's one side done. Now now let's do the dark side of the force. Sorry, I'm just a nerd. Now, of course, the point, like I mentioned, the hardness and softness of ebony pencils. Each one has their own grade, and depending on the grade depends on how it is. Like for the softer the pencil gets, the easier it is to get dark. It is for it to get darker. Now, of course, I can't remember how the grading works. I just know B is soft, and I think the higher the number, the softer the pencil. Well, technically the graphite, but I'm pretty sure you know what I meant. And there we are. Now, of course, if you don't want to leave the top of the cube just completely white, you can do it just a little bit of a light layer on there. And then we're just going to smudge it. Of course, I'm going to take my neat eraser and just take off some of the graphite. There we go. And now, like I said, if the light was coming from this direction, then there would be a shadow casted. Which, let's do that right now. Now, of course, shadows can be tricky sometimes, but you can either make them solid, but how you're supposed to do it is just have them start dark at the base and eventually fade out. In some cases, you might want to leave a little gap between the object and the shadow. I have a little one there. It's kind of hard to see, but there is one there. And as we get further from the object, we should get lighter. And there you go. You have a shadow. Now these are just some of the basic things, like shapes and everything like that. Now I took the liberty of getting preparation for this to show you what something can look like if you mix and match everything all together. So, excuse me for a second, let's get this out of here. Let's bring in the artwork. Now of course I'm going to zoom out so you can see it all. Oops, I'd zoom in. And there it is. Now of course it's not done yet, but now all I have to do is add the shading to it. Let's see, let's start with the moon. We're going to start with the sphere shape. Give it a little, make it look more like a sphere. Now of course since it's the moon, it's not going to be all that dark. So we're just going to give it a little bit of a light area. Dark area I should say. How the shading kind of works for a sphere is you gotta have a little bit of a dark sea on there. And then slowly lighten it up until you're satisfied. And now let's take care of these craters a bit. I should mind you about this. You gotta be careful when you're shading in because you might get some graphite on the bottom of your hands, just like this. Which when that usually tends to happen, you tend to get graphite all over the drawing, so you gotta be careful. And let's just get a few more of these craters filled in. There, that's the moon. Now for the rest of it, I can do whatever I please, since it's my work. But again, feel like drawing what you like. Still want you all to test this out, do whatever you like, and then comment on it if you think this is a bad thing or a good thing. Since this is my first attempt at doing this, just tell me what I did wrong, tell me what I did right, and let me know what you liked. Oh, and one more thing. Please watch the video before you comment on it all the way through, because I know there are a lot of people out there who love to do the first thing, so that's all I have to say. Assassin. Let's see. Now the moon does actually count as a light source, so light's going to come in from this way. Let's do something about the pyramid. There we go. That's one side. Let's do the other. But not as dark, since it's towards the light. No, you can't really see the lines all that well. Let's try this one. let's finish up with the cube, with the prism right here. Now, of course, you're probably wondering what the heck's a prism. All of this is just, well, it's just basically one shape elongated. Just so it could be, for a simple one, you could just do a square with a rectangle on the side and then another square. It's just like a cube stretched out. Now let's just get this last side done. Now normally I would do some shadows into this, but since most of the objects are closely grouped together, you probably won't be able to see them. But if you're probably wondering how I got to this point, it's just practice, practice, practice. That's all it really is. Now, of course, as you probably saw, the background's already done because, like I said, it took me a while just to get this ready. And I'm pretty sure you don't be sitting here forever watching me shade the whole thing. So, I just made it that simple. And after you do shade everything, just make sure you redefine your lines so you can tell what object's what. And of course, let's do a little bit on the top. And we'll smudge a bit. There. And so, let's add a little bit of dark. Okay, there. Now I'm going to leave this road right just to give it some contrast. But now, let's just redefine our lines so we can tell what's what and what's not. And let's try to keep the line straight here, i.e. this person right here, the one who's drawing like a fool. Of course, there are bound to be some slip-ups on my part, so, like I said, I'm not perfect. And of course, well, and it's done. Well, almost. Now, this is something I normally do with my drawings. You don't have to do it for all of yours, but I tend to put a monogram right in the bottom right corner. Now, of course, you don't have to do this too. This is just more of my thing. Some artists do this just to make sure that people know that they did this work. Well, I hope you enjoy this. Whoops, and now if I can remember to hit the right button. Well, I hope you all enjoyed this. I really do love doing art though, but this is probably my thing. Some of you probably don't like this, and you're entitled to your own opinion. Well, I'm BaronChaos, and this has been the first episode to the drawing board. Catch you next time.